Okay, so today it is the 27th of May, and I'm here to do my May wrap up because I finished everything that I wanted to read earlier. So that was not expected because I was actually really busy. But I think as time goes, I just realized that the busier I am, the more I read. It's just a thing. Like, so I expect next month to be a very dry month for me because I don't have work to do next month. Like, I have work, it's just not the same amount of work. I mean, it is work, but it's not like going to take up a certain portion of my time every day. So without that kind of stress, I think that my reading will also taper off a little bit. Okay, right, so before I go to the physical books, which is... I'm not sure if the titles are visible from there. Should I... Yep. So these are the physical books. There is there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and I read 6 ebooks, namely the rest of the original Bridgerton series. So that would be books 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 books, and then these 5 here, so 11 books in total for this month. So the Bridgerton book series, I feel like there is no longer any need for me to summarize what's going on, also because I'm afraid that there are spoilers, because like the series has only just covered the first book, but there are 8 books at minimum, right? I'm not even counting the prequel series. So the second book I already talked about in the previous video. So books 3 to 8 are about the rest of the Bridgerton siblings. There are 8 of them after all, and needless to say, the plot is like the same every time. So there is the Bridgerton sibling, and then there is the love interest, and at the start maybe they don't like each other, or at the start there is some kind of like thing getting in their way, but then in the end they always get together. So the thing is not like, oh, they get together, it's a spoiler. No, the premise is that they will get together. The point of reading this book is to see how they get together, and the process in itself is pretty enjoyable. Book 3 is about Benedict, who is the second son, and he ends up with the bastard of an earl called Sophie. And the problem in this book is that Sophie doesn't have like status, and on top of that she's also like a Cinderella kind of character. Her stepmother absolutely hates her guts, and her stepmother has been embezzling her dowry, and her stepmother has 2 daughters, one of which is like really mean to Sophie, and the other one is kind of her friend. So the ending is extremely satisfying, so I would recommend reading this book even if you don't enjoy like Cinderella tropes. The ending is great. So that's great. Book 4 is, it's titled Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. So it's about Colin, who is 33 years old by now, and he has writerly aspirations, but he doesn't have the confidence to carry them through. And then he ends up with Penelope, who is 28 years old by the time we reach to this part of the story. So she is like a spinster. No, she's not even a spinster, she's an old maid already. Like, everyone expects that she will just remain unmarried because she has not received a single proposition, and her mother just expects that they will grow old together, and is busy trying to marry off her younger daughter Felicity, who is not only beautiful but has a great personality. So life is unfair that way. Colin and Penelope end up together. It is satisfying. I would say it's my second favorite story. And then the next book, To Sir Philip with Love. This is Bridgerton series book 5. So this is about Eloise and how she ended up getting married to somebody she had never met before, because they were exchanging letters for a year, and he decided to propose marriage because he's a widower and he needs a mother to take his 2 children in hand. They are extremely unruly, but it's all because of neglect. So this is a book with a very strong commentary on parenting. So like 1 year, you must have exchanged like maybe 10 letters, given that 1 letter takes 4 weeks to arrive. So maybe 10 to 12 letters, and then you decide to marry the guy. Yeah. not something I would do, but I do love like this epistolary aspect of the book. I just feel like when you read like a character's letters to another character, you get to understand the character a bit more than if you were just reading what the narrator was saying. So that's just my personal opinion on it, and yeah, this is my favorite book out of the entire series. So the next book, book 6, When He Was Wicked. This one is about Francesca who married someone in Scotland, and then he died, and she became a widow at the tender young age of 22 or 23. And naturally, her ex-husband's cousin had always been in love with her, but was like wrestling with the guilt because he and his cousin were basically like best friends and brothers, so he always felt like he was betraying his friend for coveting his wife. So understandable, but in the end the two of them managed to realize that this is what her deceased husband would have wanted, you know, for his two dearest loved ones in the world to be happy, and if they could end up happy together, that's even better. Yeah, but there's a lot of angst and like a slow burn in this book, so if you enjoy angst and slow burn, go and read it. Next one, book 7, is It's in His Kiss. That's book 7 of the Bridgerton series. This follows the story of Hyacinth. So Hyacinth is the youngest daughter of the Bridgerton family. She ends up with the previously mentioned nephew of Lady Danbury. His name is Gareth St. Clair, and he is struggling with the fact that he is also a bastard. Yeah, he's a bastard, as in like his father told him, and his father never loved him because he knew that his wife was having an affair, even though like the baby came out looking very much like him, but he said it was just a coincidence. And the father also managed to run up debt, so he's expecting Gareth to just inherit the title and not bring shame to the family, but also inherit all the debts. So Gareth has to get married, but get married to someone who is rich enough to settle his family problems. So yeah. And Hyacinth is, I have a suspicion that some people like Hyacinth the best because she is the least like predictable woman character in this series. She is difficult, she's not easy to love, and I think that adds to her charm. Yeah, the last book, book 8, On the Way to the Wedding, it's about the youngest son of the family, Gregory. He's actually older than Hyacinth. Yeah, he's older than Hyacinth, and this is about his attempt at trying to find true love. So he thinks that he has fallen in love with someone called Hermione Watson because she's extremely beautiful. Everybody falls in love with her at first sight. However, Hermione is in love with someone else, and Hermione has like a best friend, Lucy Abernathy, and he and Lucy do not get along at the start. But then later on he realizes that Lucy is actually the one for him. But then Lucy is betrothed to somebody who does not like women, but she is being blackmailed into it by her uncle, who basically said that either she marries him or her entire family will be extremely disgraced and they will lose their title and position in society. Basically an annihilation of the family bloodline. So she feels like she has no choice but to marry this guy, and yeah, it's just a wild ride from start to end. I didn't expect the twist at all. I thought that he would just successfully like interrupt the wedding, but he didn't. So it's quite exciting. I quite enjoyed it, surprisingly. So that was books 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 to 8 of the Bridgerton series. I do plan to read the prequels in June. That will be my to be read. Maybe I'll do like another video for it. Okay, so now moving on to the physical books from the library that I borrowed. I mean, they're all borrowed, but these are the physical ones. The first is a bit tattered, so I'm not sure you can see the title. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste. So I read her other book, Little Fires Everywhere, and I actually really enjoyed it. I found it touching. I did tear up at some part, and this book is also one of those, when you read it, you feel like your heart is getting hollowed out by one of those spoons that you use to pit strawberries, you know, the round ones from Phoon Huat that you can buy. But then you just can't stop reading it because you need to know what happened. There is an Asian American family. The mother, she's American. The father, he's a Chinese American American professor who grew up in America but has faced a lot of discrimination and struggles with fitting in ever since he was a little boy. And the mother always wanted to stand out. She always felt like she fit in too much. They had children, 3 children, and then one day the eldest daughter, she disappeared. A few days later, when they dredged the lake, they found everyone in the family has a theory about what happened. And the parents, because of the loss of their daughter, they start to question the very foundation of the marriage. So the grandmother actually never approved of this interracial marriage, given that it happened like in the 50s? In the 70s. So basically disowned her daughter when she married a Chinese man, even though he's American, and that their children would never fit in anywhere. I think like I didn't see it coming, but we do get some perspective from the dead girl herself, and we find out exactly what was she thinking the night that she died. It did give me some sense of closure, but I think like the beauty in it is that the family will never know why their closure is necessarily eternally postponed. Is that my cat? Yes? 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 You wanna come here? Katya, what are you doing? Hey, yeah. Okay, let's hope she stays quiet. Shh. Okay, ignore my cat. So that was that. I would really recommend reading it if you have like the happiness points to spare in your heart. If not, right, if you're sad, reading this will just make you feel more sad. So don't do that. I finally read books 2 and 3 of the Legend of the Condor Hero series. Oh, they're tomes. They're really thick. Can you see? Yeah. So they look like this, and you think like, oh, I would never be able to finish reading them, but no, it just goes by so quickly. It's really exciting. I did get some feedback from other people who saw me reading it, and they were like, oh, you're reading it in translation. I do that too, because I cannot stand how nationalistic the original Chinese version is. And I think like nationalism just goes straight over my head because I am too focused on the fighting and the impossible kung fu moves. So like when I think back on it, then I'm just like, right, they are Song patriots, right, they are fighting the people who are trying to usurp their nation. So all the heroes in this book are kind of like nationalistic mouthpieces, and then when they quote like poets like UFA, General UFA, and whatever romantic songs or poems that come from their past, they are kind of trying to talk about an idealized nation before all these external forces came by to ruin it. So I get it, but only in hindsight. I'm not so perceptive. I was just busy reading the story. Yeah, I'm not going to summarize it for you because there is just way too much. You just have to get into it. It's like Harry Potter. There's just so many characters inside, and then they all have like, okay, it's more than Harry Potter, it's bigger than Harry Potter, and I would argue better than Harry Potter, but there's just so many characters in it. Like, you have to, it's so many characters that when you open the first page, right, it's a summary of all the people and what group are they in and who do they support. And yeah, but the love story aspect of it is a bit like sad lah. It's like, okay, I mean, I kind of hoped that they would marry each other. In my head, my parents led me to believe that they could marry each other, but then like in book 3, Guo Jing's betrothed Mongolian princess, she shows up, and I'm like, girl, let him go. But she refuses to let him go. She was like, if you don't marry me, then there is no point in my life, I will kill myself. Okay, so he obviously feels like he has no choice but to marry her, especially since she is the younger sister of his swan brother that he grew up with on the Mongolian steppes. Of course he has no choice but to marry this girl that he promised Genghis Khan he would marry. I mean, it's his daughter, so he has no choice. But his soulmate is not her. His soulmate is Lotus Huang Rong, right? So okay, I'm just very like caught up in it. I'm going to go and look for like book 4 maybe in July, when my heart has recovered from the shock of Ko Jin showing up out of nowhere. Alright, so that was 6 Bridgerton books. Everything I Never Told You, the 2 Legend of the Condor Heroes series books, and now we're going on to book 10. Slade House by David Mitchell. So when I was reading it, I didn't realize that this was actually like a spin-off from his other book, Bone Clocks. I didn't really get it, as in like I got it from the first chapter, then after the second chapter I was like, so there is a pattern, and then later on someone told me that it was actually like based off a bigger work like called Bone Clocks. And bone clocks are apparently people like us, like we are made of bone and our time is ticking out, and therefore we are bone clocks. That's so depressing, right? But it's true. So as opposed to being bone clocks, there are people who are able to immortalize themselves by locking their body in a lacunae and then allowing their souls to exit their physical birth bodies to inhabit other people's bodies to live their lives for as long as they want to. So it kind of is like an immortalizing process, but the only way you can do it is by feeding off the soul of somebody every 9 years. So this is what this book is about. Every section is like 1 chapter, so 1 chapter, 2 chapters. It starts in 1979 and then it ends when this book was published in 2015. So every 9 years, a victim whose soul has to possess a particular quality will be lured into the orison created around the lacunae of these soul vampire twins, but the ghost, or like the residue of their souls, are able to resist a little bit over time, resist just a bit here and there, and by the time you reach the end of the book, the twins are destroyed. I would say destroyed. They are defeated by somebody with their powers, but from a different sect of their spiritual faith, as in they use their powers of immortality for good. Yeah, so that is the plot of Slade House by David Mitchell. It's okay lah, it's okay. Like, it's not a bad or boring read. It's just not for everyone, I feel. Like, David Mitchell is not for everyone. I read Cloud Atlas and I actually enjoyed it, but I'm also aware of the fact that a lot of people did not enjoy it and a lot of people did not like the movie. I like the movie, I like the score, and yeah, but this book, not the same level as Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas is better, in my personal opinion. So the 11th book that I read this month is The Age of Magic by Ben Okri. So this book, I read to you the blurb because there is no real plot. Okay, 8 weary filmmakers traveling from Paris to Basel arrive at a small Swiss hotel on the shores of a luminous lake. Above them, strewn with lights that twinkle in the darkness, looms the towering Rigi Mountain. Over the course of 3 days and 2 nights, the travelers will find themselves drawn into the mystery of the mountain, reflected in the lake. One by one, they will be disturbed, enlightened, and transformed, each in a different way. An intoxicating and dreamlike tale unfolds. Allow yourself to be transformed. Having shown a different way of seeing the world, Ben Okri now offers a different way of reading. Okay, I disagree with the last part. I just feel like this book, written in 2014, it's not for everyone. Like, I know I described it as esoteric on my Instagram story, but it's not just esoteric. I feel like I've read spiritual books. I think the most accessible spiritual like book that you can use as like a gateway to this sort of writing is most likely The Alchemist by Coelho. It is like the most famous one. Everyone has read The Alchemist and loved it. I read The Alchemist. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it because it was written in a way where you felt like there was something to take away. But in this book, I was searching very hard for something to take away and I couldn't find anything. Like, yeah, and the portrayal of women was just very sus for me. But the thing is, if you open like every page, right, there is something very quotable for it. So I feel like people who want to show off on Instagram, like I'm reading this very like deep and spiritual book that I borrowed from the library or what, then okay, yeah, there are 10,000 quotations that you can use in here to look intellectual on your Instagram. But I would say that for me, the substance is lost. I can't sense it, can't really find it. Okay, so let's just take a random page. Okay, die while you are happy. It's all downhill from here. Later on, death is beautiful, the lovely voice whispered. It's what you have been longing for all your life. Die while you're young. It's easy. Jump. It was easy. She could see herself leaping over. She could feel the rush of the wind. She would leap like a dancer. She would die in the dark loveliness of lake and sky. She would seize the best opportunity in her life for the rarest of blessings, a happy death. Okay, yeah. So it's that kind of writing all the way. Let's just choose another page. Okay. This is also in the middle of the page. Deciding that what one decrees from within is what the world sees in you, and at that moment, happening to see himself as a prince from an infinite kingdom, Lao regained the integrity of his being. So they strode into the depths of the pub like enchanters, altering reality by altering themselves. Yeah, so like the whole book is just that kind of writing. It's not for me lah. Yeah, it's not for me. I give it 1 star on Goodreads, I must admit, but I am used to writing that is a bit more clear, meaningful. Okay, maybe not meaningful. Okay, yes, meaningful to me. Yeah, meaningful to me. That concludes everything that I read this month. I have a stack of books that I will read in June. 7 books. Actually, 7 is kind of little, right? But I also plan to be relaxing and doing things for myself. So let's just keep it at 7 books first. In this year, so far, I have read 54 books so far. That's alright. It's okay. I'm gonna go out. So I guess that's it until the next video. I am considering doing like a TBR for June, but I haven't really finalized what I wanted to read yet. I was thinking of maybe going to the library and borrowing a couple more books, but I know that if I go, I will end up borrowing 6. So maybe I shouldn't go, and I should just focus on reading the books that I have with me in my room, borrowed from my friends or bought a long time ago. This is the time to stop making excuses. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again quite soon. Bye bye.